Welcome to Module 14, where we'll be looking at the evolution of order flow and price patterns, which are really critically important as you embark on your career as a price ladder trader in order to really maintain that ability to evolve with the marketplace. Now, the content table and the structure of this module, where we'll be looking on slide 3 at a very just specific quote that can really resonate with you as you evolve and as you develop in your career as a price ladder trader. Then slide 4, we already look at the law of diminishing returns of static strategies. You know, one strategy that worked a year ago might not be a strategy that's very profitable in the foreseeable future. Then on slide 5, we look at how to adapt with the evolving landscape of market price patterns. So what type of practice do you have to employ? And we've actually looked at this in such significant detail throughout the entire program, but we're just going to do a little bit of recapping here, really trying to emphasize how important, after you've done the course, on how to really maintain a very strong and pertinent practice to ensure that you're really consistently developing and becoming the profitable trader that you have your ability to become. Then in slide 7, we look at a brief video that I speak about the development curve. And when I speak about this development curve, I just want you to pay a very strong attention, because it's something that I've noticed throughout my almost 13-14 years in the financial markets of seeing hundreds of graduates come through the system at various prop firms, and seeing the development curve of these traders. And we'll be speaking about that in a little bit more detail. I just want you to be really alert, because if I can plant 1 or 2 seeds over here, when you're ever faced with challenges in your career, or wherever your routine slips up, well, then you can really take a very close look and identify it, because this has occurred with many traders who have become successful in the past. Now, I want to start this slide with a quote, and I'm going to really elaborate with this quote. Now, how losing strategies become the answer for the next winning strategy. Now, you get 2 types of traders, really. You get the one trader who's had a terrible day. He had his plan, he had his trading strategy, and he executed his plan with conviction. But at the end of the trade, or the end of the day, he's lost money. He's been risked out. And really it comes right on the end where he goes home, he's all anxious, he's all upset, he takes it really personally, and really starts kind of losing faith and losing trust in his ability. And then you get the other trader who's executed his plan, traded just like the first trader, but afterwards takes the loss like the first trader, goes home and really gets deep down in understanding, did he lose it because it was a money management strategy? Did he lose it because he had a technical deficiency? And a lot of times that technical deficiency, if you really try and work out the markets, and the brain has this unbelievable ability, if you devote time and if you devote effort to working out, solving problems through the dawn of time, where man has evolved and become this civilized being, and we've already transformed ourselves with technology, or whether specific types of spiritual practice, or just any type of a growing practice, is you only really develop if you look at your errors. And so those 2 traders, what 2 traders are you? Are you the one that after you've taken a loss, you go home and you beat yourself up and you don't try and take the lessons? Or are you the trader that try and says, wow, what did I lose there? What happened there? How can I become better for the next time? I must have learned a lesson. And you've got to really change your mindset, change your your whole perception of lessons in the market. And it's the best traders I've seen. And really, one of our more recent traders who's really leaping on, is trading in excess of 100 bunds, where in a year ago he was trading 10 lots in the bund, a gentleman from New Zealand. And he, his name is Simon, and really, he was the one trader when all the younger guys were leaping ahead of him and he was losing, he would go back to his process. He'd go back and consistently learn what he learned on the day, and really trying to up his skill set, because you're always developing your skill set, but you're only developing your skill set if you review your day sufficiently. And I'll tell you, some of my best trading strategies, my own personal ones, my best setups in the marketplace are ones that were the setups that I was losing so much money. So for example, if I was trading into a low volume void and I was offering in the market because I saw certain type of auctioning activity on the ladder, and I would keep on selling that for a week on end and keep on losing money, and then keep on trying to work out why am I always losing money. And then what would happen, I would work out what I was actually observing, and I'd actually start becoming the buyer on that side. And all of a sudden, a strategy that I was losing money, and as long as I maintain my money management, starts becoming a really effective, profitable strategy the other way around. So really, your old losing strategies can become your next really vital edge winning strategies. Okay, now let's look at the law of diminishing returns of static strategies, and I'll elaborate this. Sometimes you'll see I'll try and use a whole bunch of descriptive words, and maybe sometimes they don't even make sense, but I'll try and elaborate here a little bit further and really trying to hit the point home as you evolve and develop as a trader. Now, it's what I call the excessive harvesting of the same strategy usually ends up becoming null and void. And you can see in this picture on this image over here, you see this this field of wheat or barley that's colored in as a price ladder, and it's almost kind of a monoculture crops, the monoculture crops of the world, your wheat farms, your corn farms. And eventually what actually happens to the land is, because it's not a self-sustaining efficient ecosystem, is that the land actually starts dying, because it's harvested with one crop, and to harvest anything with one crop requires over time excessive pesticides and fertilizer, and eventually the land dies because you're exploiting the land, where over time you gain a really good yield, but then as time evolves, as the land starts dying because you're doing something that's almost unnatural to the environment, it stops yielding the fruits of the land, as opposed to these wonderful ecosystems, these forest systems, where there's this entire community and communication between different plants, and this symbiotic relationship between all these elements. And these are also thriving communities when everyone is benefiting from this from the system, and as a result of that, you have a really strong yielding crop in those types of edible food forests or forest ecosystems. And it's the same you can apply with nature. You can apply to the financial marketplace. And I can go through years where at one time there was great opportunity and typical type of play, but once that opportunity gets really traded to the nth degree, and remember, 99% of people lose money in this game because 99% of people don't think like the 1%, they don't evolve like the 1%, they don't try and learn from their lessons like the 1%, they don't try and adapt as the market evolves, because the market is always evolving. And I can give you a whole host of examples. We had a flippers, and this is when algorithms are flipping between a range, as we spoke about in our previous modules. Now, they were so prevalent in the DAX for about 2-3 years, over the last 3 years. Now they don't exist. So any trader that never kind of evolved with the flipping market space has hasn't been able to observe these types of algorithms in the marketplace and extract opportunities. Well, if they never evolved, they don't know where to extract the same opportunity. And now this past 12 months, the morning stop runs and overnight stops, we used to come in the market, I'm talking about for years, during the financial crisis, during the Japanese tsunami, where you have these massive overnight moves in America and Asia, and then the European market would open at the futures session would open up at 7 a.m. There would be a gap about 20 ticks above or 50 ticks above the previous night's high, and as a result of that, you're looking for a stop run. So you'd buy the open if there was, say, a geopolitical event. You'd buy the open and you'd get your exits ready immediately. You get a quick stop within a millisecond, and you'd take 30 ticks with a significant size. Guys making anything between $1,000 to $100,000 in a blink of an eye. Well, that hasn't existed. We had Brexit this last year. We've had Trump this year, and when the European markets open, and we've had a few events where the moment it opens higher, it actually doesn't stop up a little bit. It actually collapses the other way around. I'm talking about the bond markets here. So where this opportunity was such a banker for traders, now it's completely changed and it's completely different. And now some traders are actually figured out some different strategies around those morning stop runs, or type of reversal plays that they're now executing, where they wait for the market to open, they observe that it hasn't stopped, and they start executing another trading strategy. And that's the evolution, because they have observed it's not working currently. So really important. Month-end trading, almost for about 18 months in the S&P 500 and the Bund futures, we had these great month-end flows, from 3:30 until 4:15 in the European session, where you just see these big block buys come into in the German bond market. If there was a significant month-end extension, and traders would just be able to buy in front of these buyers, and it would really accelerate quickly, and guys would make excessive money again. And some traders would just really trade once a month on this play, but this no longer exists. But there are different types of patterns on these month ends. But are you the one that has figured it out? I know many of our traders, at Axia Futures, have figured it out, of different types of month-end contrarian trades at different times of the day, at a day before the event, and that's really for you to figure out. And it really shows you, as long as you're evolving, as long as you're adapting, as long as you don't become one-sided in a mindset and trying to extract the opportunities that are no longer there because you're blinded by the past, or this mental inertia that's carried you, that past successes don't necessarily lead to future success. Don't ever rest in your laurels. The ECB LTROs, those whenever the ECB engaged in these very key long-term liquidity refinancing operation, when they started after the European financial crisis, there was about 3 months where, if you were prepared, you knew that this was a potential market moving, the first 3 announcements, you were able to trade the short end of the bond market with this excessive size. Guys are prepared, young graduates who were making £400 a day, had the ability now to make potentially £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 a day because of the effective flows that are coming to the market. They're very observable, but they're observable if you're prepared at that specific moment and knowing what you're looking for. And once you saw what you're looking for, then you could start acting with conviction. BOE purchasing. Recently, that's come into the fore. Since their QE that they engaged in last year after Brexit. So there are 2 or 3 BOE purchases, and these are kind of more fundamental flows. But you could see it very observant on the gilt ladder, and therefore you could actually trade other peripheral bond markets in order to, if you weren't trading the gilt directly. So that was something that our traders have been making some money off recently. And then the German CPIs. 2-3 years ago, they were market moving events. Then they went through a dormant phase because the ECB was not concerned with them. Now beginning of 2017, they have becoming massive numbers again, where they can move the market. They're more significant than the so-called non-farm payrolls. And how I describe significance is they bring more volume into the market when that data point is released, and the strategies that you execute. So remember, I'm just giving you a few examples here. And I've given examples of order flow patterns, potential stop hunts and breakout plays, or fundamental macro data points, and how they have their own evolutionary time cycle. There's a seasonality for opportunities. There's a season for events, but you don't really extract this or understand this if you don't have something that's very specific, which we'll be talking about in the next slide. Okay, so we've really been speaking about, how opportunities come and go. But the really important question is, how do you adapt with the evolving landscape of market price patterns? And we've really given you a lot of templates, a lot of key methodologies for certain areas to observe different types of order flow patterns. And really, this is kind of recapping again, and I'm going to explain this a little bit more to you. And as you can see on the slide, we talk about with the background being the brain, and really we're using a cognitive protocol to understand how you develop these core patterns in your head, and as you develop these core patterns, how you make sure that you evolve as these core patterns also have their own lifespan and time span, and how they all change. So really, you kind of start with and it's an all-encompassing circular effect. It's your routine, being religious, being consistent in your routine, and your routine having various elements, from understanding your psychology to your skill set development, and really that skill set development evolves and affects your emotional element. But as long as you maintain a constant routine, you're able to really extract what opportunities are in the market. Make sure that you always have this professional development, that every week you review your week and you look at, well, where did you lose the money, where did you do well, where are you going to focus your edge and your attention when you lost the money. How are you going to ensure that you've learned those lessons and implement the correct steps and strategies and protocol for the next time? What is your critical feedback loop? So if you're buying the opens on an overnight event, as we spoke about in the previous example, and you've lost on the 2 previous opens, well, what's the critical feedback loop? What are you observing that's kind of changed this pattern? And if you start writing that down, what happens the next time you face with that, you're either going to take less risks, so lose less money, or you'll be able to actually make profit the other way. So it's this critical feedback loop, and that really maintains itself back into your routine, and it continues to a professional development, your critical feedback loop, your routine, and then you're always adapting and evolving, because you'll always be the quickest to observe when something is not working. A lot of the traders who have no routine, who have no professional development, who have no critical feedback loop, what essentially happens to them is that they'll be trading a month-end trade, and every month-end trade they're making less and less money, but they still believe that it's a great opportunity because the last few years they've been making money on it, until the 1 month it completely doesn't work, and they give back 2 years of earnings on month ends, simply because they haven't noticed that gradual diminishing return of the opportunity of that type of play. A play can give you X amount of profits in the beginning and give you more profits the next time, and even a little bit more the next time, and then what actually happens is that slowly the opportunity starts reducing until it absolutely collapses the opportunity. And if you haven't noticed that kind of cycle of performance of an opportunity, well, then you're going to be the one that's going to really have that blowout day. So rather important. If you maintain your rigorous routine, you'll be the first one to see a new opportunity arising, and you'll also be the first one to see when an old opportunity is starting to become that old opportunity, and less the risk reward starts becoming skewed the other way. And when I say the other way, more risky than more rewardy, if you could phrase it in such a term. So so important, all the templates we've given for you, just make sure that you maintain this key critical performance development, and as long as you maintain that, you will only grow, and as you grow, you will start, the brain will start figuring out opportunities, and you'll start trusting in your own key abilities.